going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well today. Hope all is good in your world, and I hope your weekend has been fantastic so far. Now today we are going to be making a new endless loop string for my AF Archery SciCai bow. Now the string that's on it currently is still safe. However, if you look here, the end servings are starting to separate and come apart there. No fraying, no damage to the string. It's just that end serving is starting to separate, and I feel like it's time to make a new string for the bow. Now, because of that, I'm going to go through the process of how I set up my jig, and then show you how to make the endless loop string, how to take some measurements, and some other things you're going to need to be aware of if you decide to make your own string. So with that being said, let's position down on the table. Let's start building this string, and then when we get done, we'll take it out and take a few test shots with it just to make sure everything's holding up well. And hopefully you'll enjoy this video and maybe learn something from it. And as always, I love your comments, so post them below. And if you see something that I'm doing wrong, please let me know, because I am not an expert at making endless loop strings. Now, there are countless jigs that you can buy on the market today to make an endless loop string. The one I have is one that I built, as you can see in the video clips here. And it's one that I just put together for, I think it's about $50. I don't think it cost me much at all. The biggest expense was the channel that I'm using here for the string jig, and then everything else I had just lying around the house. And so I thought I would make this, and I attached it to a 2x3 and then put some feet on it, so you can see it's a good jig. I've made a bunch of strings with it, but again, I'm not the best at making strings with I'm not the best at making endless loop strings, rather, but I do make them where they're effective, they shoot, and they hold up well. So let's get started on this build, and then hopefully at the end of it we'll have a good product. So I'm going to position the camera down on the table, and then we'll start making the string. All right, so for this build we're going to be using a Dacron B55 string. I don't have any fast flight currently, that's why I'm using this, but again, this works well and will hold up well. Now, to start your loop, or to start your first loop rather, what you want to do is take a length of string about like this, and you're going to loop it over the inside here, and this is important. I'll show you why here in just a minute. And just kind of put a few wraps on there. It doesn't matter how many, as long as it doesn't pull off whenever you start putting tension on the string. And then we're going to come around, catch our next one, and what you want to do is go all the way down and then come back around on the opposite side, and you want to keep some tension on this, because with these home-built jigs, what I've found is that these will bend in a little bit if you put a lot of pressure on them, and it really starts to show up whenever you get to the end of your loops. So we're going to do a 16 strand string, so we're going to do 9 loops around this jig, and by the time we get to that 16th one, it's going to have pulled these in just a little bit. So you want some good tension on your first loop here. So let's go ahead and put our loops in, then I'm going to show you how I do the measuring for my markings for my end servings, and then we're going to put the end servings on and see what we get after that. Alright, so the goal is to keep tension on your string as you go, but you don't want it so much that you're bending in these posts, because again, with these home-built jigs, what I've found is these are not solid steel. This is just a threaded rod inside a metal tube, and what happens is you can pull these and bend these if you're putting way too much tension on them. You do want some tension at the beginning, because you don't want your end loops to be more tight than your beginning loops, because if you get that tension wrong, then what's going to happen is your beginning loops are going to be sagging. So again, we're going to do a 16 strand string, so correction from my earlier statement, we're going to do 8 loops around the jig, and then I'll show you how to tie off the other side as well. So let's go ahead and start this, and I'm going to have to shut my mouth so I can count, or I'll lose count of where I'm at. 1. And again, pull a little bit of tension on it just at the onset, and then that way it'll help you in the end make a much cleaner string build. So once you get back to your starting point here, you want to take the string and you want to wrap around this post. So you just take this, just give it a good few wraps. Doesn't matter how much you put on there. I mean, you just want it, again, enough tension so that it doesn't unravel itself. Then you just want to check your string, make sure everything is kind of uniform down through the body of the string, if you will. Make sure everything's together, no sagging lines. And then what we're going to do is we're going to twist this part out. And then once we twist that out, we're going to take a measurement of your end serving that you have on your existing string. And the reason you want to make sure your measurements are close or as accurate as possible is because you want to make sure that this fits around the scia and that this rides in the string bridges on the limbs of the bow. So again, it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to make sure you get it as close as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to twist this out, and I'll show you how to measure this, and then we're going to put the end serving on. So all I do is take the take the jig itself and just pull it around like so. And then that gives me my working area to put the serving on. Just want to make sure again that your string, no sagging string through here, everything is together, it's uniform, it looks good. So now let's get some measurements and let's get this end serving on. Now this doesn't have to be an exact science, but what you want to do is take your serving, take your ruler, just want to kind of pinch it together there and look at where your serving comes together here. Not this point yet, but here. So this is about roughly 3 3/4. So if I'm going to get a total length of this, I'm going to have to make my serving 7.5 inches long. All right, so now we're going to make our mark on the string. We're just going to take our ruler and our marker. Just going to pick a start and stop point. We will start from here, which will be fine. Make our first initial mark. Just give yourself enough room to get your string jig around this post. And then we're going to measure to 7.5. So this is going to be the loop for the limb. Now doing your end serving is exactly the same as doing a center serving. You have a start and stop point. Today we're going to be using BCY. This is a 2X. This is a end serving. It's a little bit thinner, but it is tough, abrasion resistant, and it does hold up well, and it makes a really tight and uniformed end serving. So we're going to start this like we would any other. Just going to give a few loops here. I'm going to pull that in tight. Of course, I'm going to have to get the tension right on this. Get that started. I'm going to bring this over. Oh, you just got to love it. Wrap that around just so it can hold on there. Then we're going to start with our loops. Doesn't really matter the direction you're going here. It's not as critical as it would be if you were doing a center serving and you needed to get your right or left hand pull on that. But we do want to make sure that our loops are really nice and uniform, good and tight. Once we get I'm going to do about 10 of those, I think. Pull that in. Beginning these is always the hardest part, even when you're doing the center serving. All right, I think I'm good there. So let me pull this around and get it out of the way. Now we're going to, hopefully you can still see me there. Wrap a few more around. We're going to, if we can get our tension correct on here. Pull that around. I may have to reposition this. And if you've seen any of my other videos using this jig, you know that I have a love-hate relationship with this jig. I think we're good there. Get a little bit more tension. And now we're just going to start making our loops. And as you're going down, again, make sure that everything is uniform, tight, no string jumping, or, you know, because it'll cross over on you if you're not careful, and it just makes for an ugly string build. It'll still work, But it just won't be as nice as what you could have had. It took a few minutes just to look at it. Now, while I've got that sitting there, I'm going to remeasure and make sure that I know where my exact stop point is for that. 7.5, which is here. All right. So now I will continue making the loops, and we'll jump back in this video once I get this done. I'm not going to bore you to death with this part of it. All right, so as we get near the end here, we're going to do this much like we do when we're doing a center serving, but you don't need as many end loops to tie that in together, because when you get to the finished product, these ends are going to be tied into more serving, and I'll show you that here in a second. So we just want to, again, I'm probably going to do maybe 5 at the most. That way it doesn't create this big hump in your string. And again, I'm no expert at this, so if somebody knows a better way, show me or tell me. I'm open for suggestions. Make sure that's working the way that it should. Now this piece that you see loose, this is what we tied off on the post here, so it's no harm, no foul on that, no concern about that. All right. Do one more for good measure. All right, so now we're going to take this out a little bit, take this down to your post and just hang it over. That way it'll keep good tension on it and it'll tie it all together well. And then you're just gonna, again, manually wrap this around. You want to keep your loops together and tight, or your wraps around there tight together. You don't want any gaps or crossovers on that. I really need to put my glasses on. Pull this around. Get that in like this. Hold the tension and then just pull it in. Okay. Now, you don't want to cut this end off because we need this. So let's leave that on. Let's go ahead and you can do this one down here because we're not really going to do anything else with it. Pull that in tight. And we'll treat it like center serving. We'll clip it. Well, I said we'll clip it. Maybe I need some new scissors. Then we'll burn this in. So basically what's just happened is we have secured this string. It is not going to unravel. It's not going to come apart. We can actually cut this off from your spool. Put that out of the way. That is what creates your endless loop string. That has secured your string. So let's finish out this side of it and then we'll go back and do the other side. Now we've got to twist this back into alignment. And I know what you're saying. Oh, that doesn't match up. It's not going to match up. Tighten that down a little bit. All right, so we've taken these off of the post. They're not attached anymore because what you have to do is actually move your string around the jig. That takes a little bit of doing. And you really want to watch the other side, especially if you don't have caps on the jig like most jigs do. Mine does not because it is a home-built one. Move that around a little bit more. All right, so save these ends. Don't clip those. You want to put those down just a little bit in here. Again, the string is secured. It's not going to go anywhere. You know, it's not going to unravel on you. The only thing that will unravel possibly over time is going to be your serving material, but the string is not going to come apart on you because you've captured all of those loops in that serving. And then when you put the remainder of the serving on, that's going to capture them even more and really bring this loop in together and secure the string overall. And we'll do this for the other side as well. All right, so you want a little bit of an offset. Hopefully you can see that here. And what you're trying to accomplish is if you put these both together even with each other, that's going to create a big hump. You want a little bit of a taper so it kind of ramps up smoothly, if you will. It doesn't create this big knot of serving material right here in this part of the string. So you want to just offset it a little bit. I think we're good there. I think I can be, yeah, I think we'll be fine right there. What I want to do though is get this back up over that so that it, yeah. So just a little bit of an offset. That'll give you a much cleaner build whenever you're putting this together. So just take these down. You just kind of put them there if you want to. It doesn't really matter. You're going to trim them off here in a minute anyways. Then we're going to come down the string and start building the actual, we're not going to go from here to there. We need to go from here to there. Now, I'm not really good at doing this. I'll do my best. Put a little bit of material inside the string itself. And we just want to get a reference mark of where we want to start, and I think right there will be fine. And start manually wrapping these, so you're going to have to start there. I need to capture some of the string material in there as well. And we're going to build this just like we would do a center serving. And we just start. Make sure you got good tension here. Yeah, we're good. And you just start your serving again. Sorry, the camera's moving a little bit. I had to get a tabletop tripod so you could see it. No, it's not too much tension. As we get closer to the ends of the servings, we're going to manually pull those in. I probably went a little long on that, but that's okay. It's not going to matter. I swear I need a new jig. If somebody can recommend a better jig, please do. Hey, kiddo. What you doing? You want to show me the ways? Yeah. All right, so we're nearing the end here. And I really want to make sure that I capture these loops as best I possibly can. So probably what I'm going to do is start hand wrapping, and that keeps trying to go back the opposite direction on me. As you can see, that offset there is allowing this to wrap smoother and not have such a huge transition to go over at one time. So it'll actually help you to bring your string in better. And again, I'm no professional at endless loops. So don't bash me too much in the comments. And as you're getting past your transitions, then you can start spinning the jig around the, which actually, you know what, I think I'll just continue to do it like this. That way it'll stay neat and uniformed. Take just a little bit of time on this. And if it's not perfect, unwrap it and rewrap it. That's my motto. Now we've got some gaps there. I do not like that. Let's take that off. Yeah, there we go. You kind of check and see. Yeah. I think we're right on the mark where we need to be. Now, I did get this part here just a little bit too long, but that's okay. I mean, it's not going to affect the performance of the string. And we want to do this just like we would any center serving. We are going to I'll do one more. Just lock it in tight. My bad. You want to take this, we're just going to trim it up a little bit, and we're going to burn it down. And there is your first loop. Not perfect, but I'll take that any day, especially from some of the previous endless loops that I've built. I think we're right there where we need to be with your loop. Again, yep, right on the money. A little bit longer there, but that's okay. Not going to affect the string. You can see the difference in the string there. Now we want to trim these up. Just going to burn them in as well. Well, there's your first loop for your endless loop string. Now on this side, because we don't have the luxury of being able to pull the string around the jig, you're going to have to measure off where you want your marks to be, or where you want your serving to end and start, and then we're going to have to twist this part of the jig just like we did the other side. However, we're going to have to make our marking here. So what we're going to do is take our string, and remember I made that one a little longer, so I'm going to offset this one as well. We just want to find where that loop comes together here, and we're going to make one mark here, and we're going to offset one here. That way it gives us the offset, the start and stop, and when we come back and bring the jig back around, it'll be sitting just exactly like we need to do it, so we can put the additional serving here. And this one's going to be a little bit weird. Make sure your string doesn't come off the jig itself. There you go. And now we'll just do the serving like we would on the like we did on the other side, and then we'll secure it all together. I won't bore you to death with that, so let me go ahead and get this served, and then we'll get it spun back around and get it put together on this side. Then the string will be built. So let's get that done. Well, there you have it. the endless loop string build for my SciCai bow, a much needed upgrade. Again, the string was still in good condition. It's just the end serving was coming off, and it was driving me nuts to see that separating there. So again, I had fun building this. I don't make a lot of endless loop strings, but when I do, I get the satisfaction of knowing that I did it myself and I didn't have to go source a string from somewhere else. And hopefully, if you decide to try this, you don't have to use a jig like this. This is a home-built jig. It gets the job done. It's not a professional model, but there are other ways of making endless loop strings. Those ways I haven't explored yet, so you'd probably have to search for those, but I know it can be done. Now, I could have put the center serving on here when I had it on the jig, but I like to do that on the bow, so that's the next step in finishing out the string, center serving and the knock point. And then once I get that, I'll take some test shots with it. But I hope you have enjoyed this brief little video. I hope it's given you some insight into making an endless loop string. And for those of you who have done this more than me and you have insight and wisdom, and please post it in the comments below. I love to hear your comments. I love to hear what I could have done differently to make this a more efficient, cleaner string build, if you will. And plus, those comments help the community grow because it's information sharing. And the archery community is a great community, and it's fun to be a part of that community here on YouTube. For all my new subscribers, thank you so much for thinking enough of my content to subscribe to my channel. And for those of you that have been with me for a long time, thank you for your continued support. Hopefully the content that I post going forward will be something that you can use, be entertaining, or at least have some information in there that maybe you need to use on your archery journey. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, thank you all for your support. I really appreciate it. My website, Blue Skies Archery, is still up. I've got some ideas for some t-shirts and some different things that I'm trying to put together as I go forward. So hopefully in the next month or so, I'll have that kind of locked down and be ready to kind of push that out to not only my people that follow me on my website, but the subscribers here on YouTube. So again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it's always my hope that you have a great day, a better day tomorrow, and a wonderful week ahead of you. And until next time.